The tally of 9 breaks down to 4 in the final opportunity to break free of the cut line at the shortest track on the calendar and make it to the Championship 4 at South Florida 1 week from tonight. Live from the virtual Martinsville Speedway, we welcome you to the final race in the round of 9 for the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series Playoffs and the Paperclip 150. Of course, happy to have you with us on the KBueno Racing Network inside the penultimate race of Season 2 of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. We're up atop the broadcast booth in Ridgeway, Virginia. My name is Kenneth Bueno. There's a lot to talk about when it comes down to the playoffs, and of course, this track in its context, the first time we visited in the entire history of this series. It's been banned for a while in WORC altogether. Now it's been brought back, but obviously, biggest point to talk about before we dive into the specifics of this track in particular, we'll talk about the playoff standings and where we are after our first 15 races of the season, and of course the races that we've had in the playoffs up to this point. Garrett White, with the amount of wins that he's racked up over the calendar year and of course throughout the playoffs, that, of course, gets him to the top of the board. Should have no worries to advance into what is going to be his second consecutive championship for this time by Dimitri Munoz, Clayton Ramstead, Sky McGurk, the drivers who survived off of Talladega just 1 week ago. They're going to be able to stay above the cut line going into tonight's race. The biggest storylines, though, are those 5 drivers that sit below it. It's only a 2-point spread between Sky McGurk, who's in, and Timmy Spatz, who is out. Remember, if you watch season number 1 of this series, Timmy Spatz was a part of that championship 4 battle, so we'll see if he can do it all over again. And obviously, again, another big point, Josh Patterson, defending series champion, is also beneath the cut line, 7 points out. And then you go all the way back to Gino Mero, who had been so good all season long. Now he's going to have to fight for his championship life, 13 points beneath the cut line. So, of course, we step into our penultimate race of this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series season. Here's a look at the calendar year if you, of course, are trying to remember where we are, where we've been, and, of course, where we're going next week at Homestead of Miami Speedway. Homestead will be the Championship 4 decider, just like it was 1 season ago. We have deduced things down from 15 down to 9, and now bring it to 4. We end this round here at Martinsville Speedway. Let's take a look at Martinsville Speedway in specifics with our KBRN track map, with images, of course, provided to us by Google Earth. This track is the shortest one on the calendar, no doubt. Shorter than Bristol at 0.526 in length in miles, 0.847 kilometers. Opened all the way back in 1947, so also one of the oldest tracks on the calendar to follow as well. And you'll find 12 degrees of banking inside the corners, 0 degrees on the straights. It looks like a very easy track to drive from a first glance, but when you really take foot onto the racetrack and when you really go behind the wheel with a bunch of cars around you, this track can easily turn into a mayhem cesspool, and we're probably going to see that a lot. A lot of carnage, a lot of tension, a lot of contact. It's pretty much inevitable here at a track like Martinsville Speedway. So right now, practice is concluded. Qualifying has ticked down to 0. And with that, we will take a step trackside. We'll give you your starting grid as every single driver and every playoff driver will be sitting behind the iRacing official pace truck. And we will give you where every single driver will be starting in tonight's race. On pole will be the number 03 of Hayes Booth, still chasing his first career WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win. He'll have defending winner from last week at Talladega, John Cannizaro, looking to make it 2 in a row on the outside of row number 1. Jay Mulder in the 51, he's come off a string of decent finishes. He starts this race inside the top 3. The first playoff driver, though, in this field is going to be right alongside Mulder. The number 60 of Dimitri Munoz starts in P4. Garrett White in the 26, like we've said, probably no concerns at all to make it to the Championship 4. He just needs to survive. He starts inside the top 5. Caden Reif alongside needs to get some points in order to get to that championship 4, 8 points shy of the cut line as he rolls off in P6. Clayton Ramstead in the 21, above the cut line by a couple of points this time. He is 7th. Steven Shipman, who provided an absolute masterclass of a super speedway race at Talladega 1 week prior, he starts tonight inside the top 10, outside in row number 4. Logan Suyi returns to action in the 19. He rolls off from 9th. Sky McGurk in the number 82 looks to hold on to that 2-point buffer he has over Timmy Spatz in the last spot of the championship Championship 4. He's the last driver inside your top 10 before you get to Hunter Collier, who had a shot at the win at Talladega a week ago. Going to look to try and be in contention at a short track. Ryan Kame in the 23 also returns to the series as he rolls off from P12. Josh Patterson, defending series champion, has a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He is currently 7 points beneath the cut line for the Championship 4. He's going to need some work to do on the green flag from 13th. Timmy Spatz, also some work needed to be done. 2 points below the cut line in 14th on the starting grid. Ezekiel Reyes, who was in our booth last time we raced here in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, going to trade the headset for the steering wheel. He's 15th to start. Brady Cox on the outside in 16th. Brayson Collins, Zach Horner are going to be the two drivers 17th and 18th in row number 9. The last driver to take time in qualifying will be the number 9 of Ryan Martin in 19th, but to join alongside him will be the 69 of Connor Trafari. Joe Berge and Connor Havrillo will be 21st and 22nd. James Bomar and Julian Valadez will be 23rd and 24th, row number 12. Then the final 3 drivers in our grid: Frederick Seagraves in 25th, Henry Clafford in 26th, and the final driver in our 27 car field, the number 980 of Cameron McCone. So we go for 150 laps here from the Paperclip, 78.9 miles, just over 127 kilometers here in virtual Virginia. And of course, we talk about Martinsville as a chaotic track. It's been banned in WORC for a while. It was recently taken off the banned list. We'll see if it actually is worth being on the unbanned list and see if we can get some good racing and obviously give you the updates on storylines. If you want to check in with all of the playoff drivers, you'll see the orange banners, orange spoilers, and orange splitters lining their race cars. We'll let you know they're in the fight for the championship. Pace truck is down. 2 Mustangs to lead us to green. Hayes Booth in the 03. John Cannizzaro in the 018 will take the green flag. We're underway in the Paperclip 150. A hectic start for your pole sitter, Hayes Booth, who falls back to second. You saw the wiggle that he had in the race car, moving up to the gears, stacked everyone up on the inside. I believe saw some damage for Garrett White in P6. You'll see it right there as he enters turn 3. A bit of that front end nose damage on the 26. Shouldn't affect him all too drastically, but a hiccup out of Hayes Booth sends him back to second. And we're under green for the first 2 laps. Shane Mulder has now settled into third. Dimitri Mudros, Caden Reif inside your top 5. Big stack up on the front straightaway, and the caution is out for the first time this evening. It's a parking lot at the exit of turn 4. What has happened here? Our first caution at lap number 3, and it involves playoff driver Sky McGurk. And this is tough for the number 82, the rookie driver, who was fighting alongside Timmy Spatz at the exit of 4. And Spatz just gets loose, overcorrects the car, slams into McGurk. Then gets into Ryan Kame, Ryan Martin. We'll see it once more this time by. From a higher view, there's the 82 and the 54 going side by side. A quick little mistake out of the 54. Spatz just sends him into McGurk, and then everybody else gets involved. Joe Berge, Frederick Seagraves, Brady Cox. The 003 machine, it appears, of Zach Horner getting involved in the mess. So a huge crash brings us under caution for the first time. There's a look at Timmy Spatz and Sky McGurk, the 2 playoff drivers coming down pit road. You can also add in Joe Berge, who we didn't talk about all too much, but he's also beneath the cut line going into this race. TikTok machine takes it down to the pit stall. He is currently 8 spots out of the championship 4 as we have tallied it over our first 15 races. So caution out for the first time this evening in the Paperclip 150. And it is John Cannizzaro who has taken the lead here and has led the first couple of laps here from Martinsville Speedway as Hayes Booth has fallen back to second. Speaking of John Cannizzaro, he is riding the high off of last week's win at the Talladega Super Speedway. Here's a look at exactly what happened. If you missed that broadcast on the KBueno Racing Network, a lot of great racing to start, and then a bit of scares in the opening 10 laps. That's Chris Downey, Hunter Fox, and Connor Trafari going 3 wide for the lead. The 3 machine of Hunter Fox gets in at Chris Downey on the bottom side. Here's another look at it. Downey just tried to make a move on the inside. Fox tried to block, then some contact up top. but luckily they were able to save it, and the caution did not come out until lap 16. This was with the 55 of Austin Doran getting sandwiched between the 74 of Brianna Lavin, the 68 of Tristan Rivers. 55 goes for a harmless spin, and everybody did an amazing job to get out of it. Then came the green flag again, and some fantastic racing ensued at the front. Some new names happened with Hunter Collier moving to the front. Ryan Zabot in the 10 had been trying to work that third lane all evening long, and it finally worked to his favor, but then caution came out again more than midway through the race. Hunter Fox getting tapped by Jack Leslie as he tried to make it 4 wide, got loose, and then a green flag restart. Saw a lot of strategy shake up the field, including bringing John Cannizzaro, Pierce Maffett to the front of the field. Cannizzaro would have control of the race, but it would not take long for it to get very competitive. 3 by 3 all the way down to the first handful of rows. You see the 61 of Steven Shipman making it 3 wide on the outside. Fantastic job. Then a caution came out with a pivotal one inside, 5 laps to go. Again, Hunter Fox taking some cars with him at the exit of turn 4. Then the pivotal restart with 2 laps to go. Hunter Collier in control, Chris Downey on the outside. And then we don't really need to tell the story about what happened in that final lap. It was just an unbelievable sequence of events where John Cannizzaro found his way to the front. He was in the backside of this entire group going 3 wide. And then Garrett White gets into contact with Hunter Collier, and Aiden Kirker entering turn 3. They're going to end up in a crash. Takes them out of contention for the win, but then it was everybody else left to fend for themselves at the very front. Ryan Martin makes it 3 wide. He tries diving up the track to get outside of Chris Downey. They both make contact 3 wide with Connor Trafari, and there it is, the Ford Mustang at the top. John Cannizzaro moves in all by himself, takes his first career WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win. So a huge one for the 018 of Cannizzaro, and right now leads this field. Lap number 10, back to a restart and to turn 1. This time a lot more pressure on the rear end of that 018. You ride on board with Cannizzaro, your race leader, and Hayes Booth not too far behind in his Ford Mustang. And we've talked drastically about that 03 ad nauseum of how many times he had been looking for a win in this series and how many times he has pulled out fast Ford Mustangs and really fast performances. But the last puzzle piece never fell in for him. Remember one of the last short tracks where he did so well out and got the race pretty much stripped away from him? That was at Phoenix last season. It looks like Hayes Booth going to grab a bit of the grip strip all the way in the bottom, or rather the rumble strip, and lose a bit of that ground. And we'll see if Jay Mulder can try and pick things up and get closer to the driver of the 03. So some nice battles inside the top 10. How about Joe Berkey, Logan Suyi? Seems to be Connor Trafari, Brayson Collins right behind him, and the playoff driver in Berkey, of course, got some of that damage off the opening incident at the exit of turn 4. Nice recovery for Berkey so far. He's been able to weave his way back inside the top 15. Collins with a beat-up front end on his Chevrolet Camaro. And look to the outside. This is on Frederick Seagrave's battle for 15. Nice contention here. They remain side by side. Speaking of which, we do have door-to-door action for position. That's Dimitri Mundros making a quick effort pass on Jay Mulder for third. So making your top 3 all filled by Ford Mustangs, and make Dimitri Mundros still the highest running playoff driver in the field and the only one inside the top 3. He's able to clear the 51. Mulder going to fall back, and maybe another playoff driver still waiting in the ranks as well. And this is the number 97 of Caden Rife, who goes into tonight's race in a total of 8 points beneath the cut line. And Rife did not have the greatest race at Talladega. Not really anybody in the playoff field had a great race, to be exact. But nonetheless, that 97 was still able to somehow survive and comes into this race without the largest points gap in existence, although he does need some work to do if he wants to get around drivers like Mundros and obviously guys like Garrett White. Number 26 is just behind him, couple of tenths back, and then it's just more playoff drivers from there. Orange banner after orange banner. Josh Patterson in 7th, Clayton Ramstead back in 8th, so the evenness of this playoff field might not help a guy like Caden Rife in his case, and maybe even like a Josh Patterson. 7 points out. It's only a 1-point difference between those two guys, and when you have all the playoff drivers at the front, it only makes it much harder to gain some points and be able to get over that cut line. Again, a lot riding on the shoulders of the 02, looking for his 2nd consecutive WORC Dynamo Designs National Series Championship. So here's a look on board with the number 03 of Hayes Booth, still chasing the number 018, but another mistake comes out of Booth, hits the outside wall at the exit of turn 4, and we're seeing for the first time what we haven't seen in a while in this series, lap traffic playing a factor. We've got a lot of drivers in contention to be a lap down. One of the first ones being Cameron McCone back in 20th, Ryan Martin, Brayson Collins. And they're all up to 18th place, and while everybody's single file and as fast as Cannizzaro and Booth are, they are inevitably going to get to green flag traffic at some point, and it is really going to play a factor in this race. Remember how big of a factor it was at Bristol earlier in the season. You have that short of a track, everybody's going to bunch up at some point. Here's a look on board with Hunter Collier riding inside the top 10, but this traffic and this look you're seeing outside of the 98, these are all lead lap cars, but if you're Cannizzaro, you're probably going to end up in this place, but with a bunch of lap cars, and that's only going to make things worse because they have to be predictable. They might not know where you're going, and as the faster car, if you get slowed up by those guys, you get woed up in the madness. You could allow the driver second on back to catch up to you. So for right now, that's not a concern if you're John Cannizzaro, but you do have to keep that in mind. Timmy Spatz here is going to go 2 laps down. He is 21st, 1 lap down already. Should have the lucky dog pass if we get a yellow before this 018 completes this move. But you have to watch how he does it. It looks like the 54 is going to let him by on the front straightaway, so a smart move by Spatz. Going to let the top 2 by, and probably going to do the same for everybody. Third on back. No problems for Cannizzaro. He stays in the race lead. We'll try and complete lap number 24. It's a lot of great runs through this field, and you look at all the playoff drivers inside your top 10 or so. Here's Josh Patterson, dive to the inside of Garrett White. This is a move completed for what is going to be P6 on the track. So Patterson, extra gain point this time by. He'll try and work on the 97 of Caden Rife then next time through. Some new colors for the 02 of Patterson, who we saw as the highest running playoff driver through most of last week's race at Talladega. We knew he was not afraid at all to take charge of the front and race with all the non-playoff drivers in the top 10 and even the top 15. Everybody else in that playoff group all wanted to stay in the back. Patterson did not. He was not afraid, and unfortunately bit him near the end, and that's what put him so far beneath the cut line. But Patterson trying to recuperate, now moving to the inside of Caden Rife. A lot of made time at a 20.401. The last time he crossed the stripe, roughly 0.2 faster than Jay Mulder, a 10th faster than the driver he's fighting right now in the 97. Completed pass by the 02, Josh Patterson inside the top 5. And a methodical move up through the field for Patterson. Consistency is exactly what brought him to a championship 4 appearance last season. He's going to look to get over the hump, and so far it appears to be working. Still has a bit of ground to catch up before he can get to Jay Mulder in P4, but for right now, some solid progress out of the number 02. We continue to watch that line of playoff drivers. There's Connor Trafari, Joe Berge. They're running 12th and 13th. Bit of a close battle here, but not necessarily too much to report about. We haven't seen that many battles on the racetrack. Most of what you're seeing side by side is just lead lap cars getting around lap traffic, which arguably I was surprised. I'm already surprised to see. I would have expected more yellows around this point, especially with the nature that Martinsville brings to the drivers. No matter how good you are, you're going to have wrecks, no doubt. You're going to have contact, but everybody keeping it clean. Here's a look on board with Ezekiel Reyes, the driver who was in the broadcast booth at Talladega, joined us on the KBueno Racing Network last week, and now on the track this time around, running solidly inside the top 10. A bit of some lap car drama. I think that is Cameron McCone in the 980, if I can correct myself. Yes, that is Cameron McCone in his Chevrolet Camaro. He is P20, now falling a lap down. Ezekiel Reyes going to try to get around him in just a little bit as he continues to run 10th. So the top 2 have broken away from the field. There's a look at the distance between that number 03 of Hayes Booth and then the orange banner number 60 of Dimitri Mundros. It is a far gap and roughly almost 3 seconds in difference. You can see them crossing the line now. Leaders coming in at turns 1 and 2. And this shows you how fast Cannizzaro and Booth are at this track. Now this is good news if you're any one of the drivers above the cut line, because you do not have a random spoiler. You do not have a playoff driver beneath the cut line going to victory lane and grabbing a heap of points. You're watching drivers who are not fighting for the championship inside the top 2, dominating this race. So if this continues to happen, it's only going to help Garrett White, who seems to be locked in at this point. Dimitri Munoz, who's sitting in 3rd, as long as he holds fort where he stands, he's probably going to make it into the championship race. Clayton Ramstead and Sky McGuirk, although Sky McGuirk has fallen with some bad luck and he's dropped to 24th, now 31 laps down. I think for him, that's going to be the exception. But for everybody above the cut line, besides Sky McGuirk, this is good news for them. As long as they continue to run where they are, this should be smooth sailing to a championship appearance at Homestead, Miami next week. And so we'll see exactly what happens. Anything can change. We're only 36 laps in. I don't want to jinx anything at this point, but you do have to keep that in mind. And that's sort of the strategy you have to play when you're points racing, and especially if you realize to yourself, you're self-aware that, hey, I'm not the fastest car in this field, I'm not the most dominant, and then you're going to try and see what you can do with the math that you have available to you, and if you have some crew, some spotters, some crew chiefs along with you to help you in that case and help you do the math while you're trying to handle the physicality of this Martinsville Speedway. Here's a nice look at the onboard from Clayton Ramstead, giving a nice shove to the 26 of Garrett White in the middle of the corner. That's typical of Martinsville, a little bump and run, but unfortunately did not work on the 21's end, and he is still trying to catch Garrett White. And both of them, by the way, are catching the 97 of Caden Wright. Remember, we saw him fall a spot short to Josh Patterson, who has since stepped into the top 5 and not looked back, now trying to catch Jay Mulder. These two have been on that number 97's tail, so Wright really has to watch his back now. Potentially some lost points in the mix, but maybe these guys have to worry about a non-playoff driver in the mix. That's Hunter Collier. Here's Ramstead looking underneath Garrett White. Can he find the space? Yes, he can. The 21 underneath the 26 at the exit of turn 2. They're going to remain side by side. It looks like Ramstead cannot break the 26's defense, and this is only allowing the 98 to square up and put himself in a situation to make a pass happen. He does not. Ramstead falls back, and so your 3 positions, 7th through 9th, all remain the same. We're going to keep an eye on this battle. Seems to be the closest one we're having on track as of the moment. Side by side for P13 on the racetrack. This is Joe Berge in the 41. Logan Suyi in the 19, some new colors. I think repping the Ty Gibbs colors with the matte black and the monster colors on the Supra. Joe Berge, of course, with the same TikTok colors we've been accustomed to seeing all race long. And Berge looking to rebound after that incident on the front straightaway to cause our first and only caution so far. Makes quick work of Logan Suyi, so Suyi will fall back and ends up in another battle, this time with Connor Hervilla. Hervilla in the 29, who we haven't talked about all night long, making that pass complete. Bit of contact on the rear end of Hervilla's machine. I'm going to say green flag racing. Suyi falls 2 spots in the matter of, let's say, a corner and a half. That was a tough scenario for Suyi, but there you look at the gap. From them back to your race leader, it is starting to get rough, because now we have only 18 cars on the lead lap out of the 24 that started. And Canizaro, as he continues to put in laps here at this Martinsville Speedway, and as he continues to pull away now from Hayes Booth, he's put almost a second between the two as of lap 43. There's a look at Booth now trying to get around Brayson Collins into turns 1 and 2. It's only going to get tougher for all these guys like Berge and company to stay inside the top 15 and top 10 and not get lapped on the racing track. So they got to watch out for Canizaro, who has outright been the fastest and most dominant driver up until this point. And ever since he got that clean air ahead of Hayes Booth on lap 1, that struggle from Booth on the opening jump, and has allowed Canizaro to pull away. Now 1.2 seconds separate the two. Canizaro looking to be in a league of his own. Remember, of course, we do have green flag pit stops in consideration. If we stay like this and if we don't get a yellow, strategy is going to matter at some point in this Paperclip 150. For right now, though, not the concern for your leaders. 46 laps in. It's going to be a little while if we stay green for them to come down pit road. So right now, all the 018, John Canizaro looking to do all he can to dominate and win 2 in a row. You're watching coverage of the final race in the round of 9 for the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, the Paperclip 150, live on the KBueno Racing Network.
Who wins the race? Kerwin! It is Billy Olot, the sophomore.
Tipsy the head of you catch me is something you'll never do. I turn around and I love you. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible. This how it feels at the top. Got no incentive to stop. Came to change the beat and it's great back to sleep and I use the technique that it created.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Beyond the Lights Road to Charlotte is out now. Join Justin and Quentin Haley in a 4-part documentary series as they take on the famed dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. All episodes are available now, and you can tune into Limeade Media's YouTube channel to start watching today. Welcome back to coverage of the Paperclip 150, the final race of the round of 9 for the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series on the KBueno Racing Network. Kenneth Bueno to join you in the broadcast booth. We do have a new leader in Steven Shipman, but that is by design. Your leaders have come down pit road. If you watched on our side-by-side break, there are more drivers coming in. Ezekiel Reyes and Joe Berge have taken their share of stops this time through. We did see the race leader at one point, John Canizaro, come in. Dimitri Mundros, Hayes Booth, Josh Patterson. Basically everybody have taken their trips down to the stall at around lap 54 here in this 150 lap race at Martinsville. There's like a Clayton Ramstead who had just taken a stop on pit road. He's currently in P12 trying to force his way back into the top 10 in this race. It has significantly shuffled everybody through the field. Now it hands the lead off to Ryan Martin. Him, Frederick Seagraves, and Ryan Kame are the only ones not to come in. Caution comes out, though, at the right time. Ryan Martin had to duck out of that one last second. And we'll try to see who is involved. We'll see if there was some contact, who might have been involved in it. It looks like potential contact between Frederick Seagraves and Connor Trafari. And it was. Then Ezekiel Reyes gets into the 69, sends in sideways, and that is more than enough for iRacing to call that a yellow flag. Here's another look at it. The 69 of Trafari. With that 62 machine, that black and yellow 8-car behind. Trafari tries to follow Timmy Spatch in the corner, overshoots, gets into Frederick Seagraves, and then as he merges back at the apex, Ezekiel Reyes gets into him. Trafari goes sideways, and he gets righted back immediately at the exit of turn 2, but obviously, damage is done. Caution is out. A pivotal caution for Ryan Martin, who stays out at this point. Everybody else has come in, but Martin staying out. John Canizaro, everybody, fortunately, they've already come out of pit road, so no penalties for them. But you saw Martin immediately duck out of pit road. Now he's going to come in for service. But the good news for that 9 car is he's going to have the freshest tires out of anyone in the field. And that's going to be big, especially here at a track like Martinsville, where we've seen drivers already this evening get loose off of the corners. And with the lack of downforce you have on this NASCAR Xfinity Series machine, you're going to want all the grip that you can get. So Martinsville providing a fantastic show so far as Ryan Martin comes into the pit lane. Canizaro will be your race leader. Hayes Booth and Josh Patterson to close out your top 3. And I gotta say, that is a masterclass pit maneuver by Patterson. Was able to stay in the top 3 as he merged back for traffic. And now with a shot to catch up to the 2 fastest cars all night long. We have yet to see them both be dethroned. Can the defending series champion do such a thing this time by when we get our inevitable next restart? Big news, though, for playoff drivers. Dimitri Mundros, he's now trapped 2 laps down. He's coming in at pit road in P18, so what's been a fantastic race up until this point and will look like an automatic lock into the championship 4, it might just get a little bit questionable now that he's 2 laps down and he is coming in for service this time through. You can also look at Timmy Spatz, who's been struggling all race. You see the damage done to the 54. He's 3 laps down in P20. Sky McGurk, He is still on pit road, 55 laps down in 24th, so he's obviously in a tough spot. And then Joe Berge, 1 lap down, the Lucky Dog contending car, 14th on the racetrack. He's also a playoff driver, so you have to think that there is mass concern for those drivers, and this caution, while it does bunch everybody up, it has dealt them a terrible card, and they're going to have to deal with it for the rest of the race. So we step into the final 90 laps here in this Paperclip 150. And we'll have the lights out on the iRacing official pace truck with John Cannizzaro and Hayes Booth, the commanding Mustangs at the front. They've been up here all race long. We'll see if anybody can get past them. Maybe a little bit of roughing up to get them out of the way. Pace truck is down into 3 and 4. Restart in the hands of John Cannizzaro in that Stay Tuned Sports machine. He's going to go early at the exit of 4, back under green from Martinsville. And this restart enables Josh Patterson a move to the inside for second. Going to try and break Hayes Booth, bringing Jay Mulder with him. And it does not work for the 0-2 of Patterson. He'll nose ahead for second. He'll let Cannizzaro run away, but he backs out at the entrance of turn 1. Hayes Booth going to retake second place. And your top 10 or so, mostly single file. You see the group of playoff drivers. Ryan Martin has since moved up to 9th, or 7th rather, did not lose any ground whatsoever. And with the fresh tires that he has on his Chevrolet Camaro, it might just be a little easier to get to the very front as Cannizzaro continues to lead the way. Remember, we're watching Joe Berge, who is the Lucky Dog car. If a yellow does come out, he's in 14th. At the moment, you see him sitting behind Ryan Martin in his machine, but he needs a yellow to come out desperately if he wants to get back on the lead lap. And Dimitri Mundros is going to have to find 2 laps in the matter of the next 86 or so to get back on contention and to at least have a shot of making it to the championship 4. But for right now, top 3, John Cannizzaro, Hayes Booth, Josh Patterson. And it seems like that is not changing anytime soon. Patterson with the blistering pace that we saw him acquire late into the first run. It seems to be working early into the second. You ride on board with the 0-2 entering turn 3. I remember Patterson, last time we were at a very short track. You can think back all the way to Myrtle Beach, the last race of the regular season, and while that 0-2 did not visit victory lane that time, remember the situation he was put in. A chance to win late in the going, and then all of a sudden Garrett White ended up at the front via strategy. Then all the cautions came out. Patterson could not find his way back up to the front of the field, but Patterson has been consistent, has been good at these short tracks, and even then, good at sort of the oddball type tracks as well. Got a win earlier in the season at Charlotte Dirt, and pretty much all of his WORC Dynamo Designs National Series wins have come on the dirt surface, but you cannot shy him away at these short tracks. The 0-2 is really good at these types of shorter speedways, and Patterson right now sets a 19.9, faster than Hayes Booth that last time by as they cross the stripe, and even just a tad bit off your race leader John Cannizzaro. So a lot to say about your defending series champion. Of course, there's a reason why he made the championship 4 and won it last season. Deserved his spot. We're going to see if he can take it back. Battle for 9th on the racetrack, Ezekiel Reyes, remember, who got caught up in that crash with Connor Trafari. Playing Ramstead on the back end of this, and Trafari, the 3rd car in the group. P11 as we stand. Ezekiel trying to hold off this group of cars. It looks like doing a good job of doing just that, as Trafari would try to make work of Ramstead. They go underneath the 003 of Zach Horner, who's sitting 16 laps down in 22nd. But no peeps out of those drivers just yet. All single file through this field here at Martinsville. And it only poses the question, if we continue to stay like this, will we see another shot at green flag pit stops, which Josh Patterson made the most out of and got a spot out of it, moved up to 3rd with the help of getting around Jay Mulder. And so the 0-2, we'll see what he can do. We'll see if Cannizzaro and Hayes Booth can do the same thing they did in that first run. It looks like it is the same playing out for Cannizzaro, pulling away from the field for Hayes Booth. I think a little more desperation out of the 0-3, and has put him behind as he gets around a lap car that is the 86 of Brady Cox, the Racing Nation TV machine. So solid move by Hayes Booth. He'll control second. He'll try to put a buffer between himself and that Toyota Supra of Patterson, and even the second one in this group, Jay Mulder, who has been quiet but consistent inside this top 5. A lot to say about the Canadian driver. And Mulder, the winner at Daytona to start this season, has yet to find victory lane. Has been close a couple of times. But Mulder has been there. And it looks like the quickness is here for him at the Paperclip. He'll move around Brady Cox, and he'll try and continue to follow in the wake of the 02 Josh Patterson. So we get into the final now 76 laps. We're roughly halfway through this Paperclip 150. Here from Martinsville Speedway, we'll also remind you that our coverage on the KBueno Racing Network is brought to you by Dynamo Designs, your one-stop shop for all of your iRacing design needs. They can cater to any style you like, can ensure you will look good on track, starting at just $5 per scheme. Message Josh Patterson on Discord at Josh Patterson, #9212, or on Facebook at JP Designs to get your latest scheme today. Caution is out again, lap 75 here at Martinsville. We'll see who might have been involved. The entire field, remember, was single file, so we'll try and pinpoint this incident for you. It looks like Zach Horner, potentially, and maybe Connor Hervilla. They got into a scuffle on the onboard with Horner. That tells the story. Hit the 29 at the exit of 4, got him sideways, and while the 29 of Hervilla did not go officially around, that is, of course, more than enough for iRacing to throw the yellow once a car is pretty much more than 45 degrees sideways. We saw that with Trafari, and when that wasn't a full-on incident like it was in our first caution where everybody went around, we had a parking lot. This one, just a slight bump and run gone wrong. Horner slows down, gives him the space. Hervilla picks it up, but that is enough to bring out the yellow. We'll see if drivers come down pit road. The answer will be yes. For Hayes Booth in the 03, I think he's the only one inside the top 5 to come in for service. So an interesting call by Booth, and might even just be one of the only lead lap cars to come in. That's Brady Cox, a lap car, following suit. There's a look at Garrett White, Ezekiel Reyes, who have come in for service. Kane Ramstead, Joe Berge, who now is back on the lead lap. Of course, Connor Hervilla, Connor Trafari. And so a heap of drivers coming in, but up at the front, Hayes Booth going to relinquish second and give it away to Josh Patterson, who will now have the outside of row number 1, joining with John Cannizzaro once we get this restart at maybe lap 79. So this is big for Josh Patterson, who, of course, like we said, 8 points beneath the cut line, or rather 7, I should say. It's 8 for Joe Berge and Caden Reif, but 7 for Patterson, still around the same ballpark. And even for Caden Reif, this is big for him, stepping into 4th. No Dimitri Mundros up at the front. Sky McGurk out of this race. And so this could shake up the playoff field dramatically, just like it did at the end of Talladega. There's a car around on the back straightaway. That's Cameron McCone. And he is towed to pit road. What has happened with the 980? It was contact with Dimitri Mundros. You'll see him here coming into the screen, coming out of pit road. Cameron McCone slows down, not sure why, and then just tows it. And Mundros has to come to a full stop. And Mundros is back in. It has been a nightmare race for Mundros since he got put 2 laps down on that caution midway through the green flag stop sequence. He is now 18th. And remember, he came into this race 2nd in playoff standings at 1,617 points. And that buffer might just be completely erased with the way this race has gone. Pace truck is down. Lap 80 will be on the marks here in the Paperclip 150. Green flag in the air. Cannizzaro with an early jump side by side for 3rd. Jay Mulder underneath Caden Reif. Patterson able to maintain clear for 2nd. Mulder looking to fight consistently for that 3rd spot. He gets it. Hunter Collier going to try and charge now. Good defense out of Caden Reif. As Hayes Booth, remember, he came down pit road. He's going to try and charge his way through the field. Going to work on Trafari. This is for P7. Maybe on Clayton Ramstead. It got a little scary there out of turn 2. Garrett White in the background of all this as well. You watch on board with the 03. Of course, one of the fastest cars all night long. But things have stepped out of the way for him. as he fell in a dirty air, that 018. And in the last couple of runs has not shown the pace that Cannizzaro has had. As Shafari falls back an extra spot, he drops to 9th. Garrett White will fill that spot in 8th. And for the moment, again, all single file through this field as everybody tries to find their place. Just look on board with Jay Mulder in the 51. Gonna try and peek on this battle for 3rd, but for right now, it is non-existent. Cannizzaro continues to lead this race. You watch the battle for 1st on the bottom end of your screen, just how far he is from Josh Patterson. And while we've seen multiple challengers in 2nd, we have not seen Cannizzaro fall off that top step. As we cross the line, lap 84, this time for 85. That gap only growing, and now 0.4 of a second between the two. And Cannizzaro, as he crosses the line, we'll see what lap he puts down. This time it's a 19.9 for Patterson at 20.1. So obvious difference here. Cannizzaro using the most of his Goodyear Eagles right now as Hayes Booth continues to struggle for pace. Clayton Ramstead fights back on the inside as Hunter Collier tries to break free of the 97 for P5. Remember, Ramstead in this group, still above the cut line, has had a decent race up until this point. And sitting P6, it just might be good enough to get him into the championship 4. But of course, Caden Rife, 8 points beneath. Hayes Booth slides way up the racetrack. I'm not sure whether he got moved out of the way or just overshot. Wiggles the Ford Mustang. And it has become a nightmare for Booth to handle. As he falls to the outside of Ryan Martin, he'll drop outside of the top 10 for a brief second, and Martin's going to fight that spot. As he falls back, contention for 2nd now not up for debate, as they are still side by side. Make it Hunter Collier this time defending against Ramstead. Ramstead slides into the top 5. A gorgeous move by Ramstead, who only continues to pick off driver after driver. He's got fresher tires than Caden Rife. He'll make the move to the bottom, and quick work for the 21. This strategy getting him inside the top 4 for the first time this evening, and Ramstead looking to stay in his spot, get into Homestead, Miami next week with a shot to win the championship. And this performance only proving how good Ramstead is at this stage of the race. Remember, he's got 13 lap old tires. Everybody else around lap 40 on their set of Goodyear Eagles. So Clayton Ramstead, and the big brain strategy working off of the last caution as we get into the final 60 laps of this race. And should we get another caution, I think that'll only do anything but deny a possibility of making it all the way to the end on fuel. So we keep tab as Ramstead. I believe there's a driver on pit road. That is Zach Horner in the number 03, the 003 rather. He's had a pretty abysmal race and just trying to recover all that he can, and unfortunate for him. And hopefully emerges back safely onto the pit lane. But the gap between 1st and 2nd only growing lap after lap. 0.9 of a second up to 1 second full, and Ramstead overshoots the corner. It's a little too eager in 1 and 2. Will fall back on Jay Mulder. They're side by side for position for P5. That is Hunter Collier, who is on the same strategy, by the way, as the 21 of Ramstead. Looking to the inside, he'll try and bring Garrett White and company with him. Hayes Booth in this group as well. He has since not been able to pick up his running positions from 8th on the racetrack. Hunter Collier, a driver who was in contention to win last week at Talladega Super Speedway. Did all that he could to get to the end, but just got caught up in a crash and completely dives into turn 3 and 4 without remorse, and it looks like it might invite Garrett White to the inside. It does, so White will try and drop in for P5. He'll bring Hayes Booth with him on the bottom, and Caden Rife in a free fall right now, just getting swarmed by the fresh tire cars. Collier is sideways on the back straightaway. He saves it. Unbelievable save by Collier, will stay green. And surely looked like Collier was going around for good. Would have brought out another caution at lap 95. He drops instead to 9th and somehow keeps the car collected. We'll watch the replay and look at this masterclass save. We did talk about countless times in this race, drivers getting looped off the corner. It looked like contact, though, between Garrett White and Collier that sent him sideways to begin with. But Collier, fantastic wheelman effort still in this fight with Trafari for 9th. Well, that drops him out of contention for further spots in the top 10. He beats the 69 out of the way. And the 29 of Havrilla will try to look to the bottom this time for position. But Collier keeps his car intact. Most important thing in this race. And now Havrilla going to be aggressive on the bottom. Battle for P9 still underway, entering turn 1. And what you're watching right now, the only side-by-side battle in this race as it stands between lead lap cars, a three-way fight for P9 on the racetrack. Jafari looks to the inside. Contact again with Collier. Ezekiel Reyes in the background gets loose out of 4. Jafari slides way up the racetrack. And the drama only continuing. That's Dimitri Mundros trying to get his way through. He is still 2 laps down on the track. But Collier just continuing to get bullied. More contact up in front of them. Reyes and Mundros. And the tensions rise inside. 50 laps to go. A rough set of 10 laps for Collier, right on board with the 98. Just got passed by Havrilla. And this pass by Jafari, but Jafari gets loose and chases it up the track. Makes contact, and then Collier retaliates immediately. Sends him up the track in a bump and run. And so they are not happy with each other at all. And Collier has fallen back to P10 on the racetrack. Meanwhile, Clayne Ramstead, remember, a conversation about him being on fresh tires, it is still prevalent. And the 21 of Ramstead now looking closer and closer on the back bumper of Jay Mulder. Inside 49 laps to go. Question is, will he have enough time to catch up to the front? Not entirely sure if that will be the case. And with the way Ramstead is running right now, Clayne Ramstead rather, if he runs like this, stays where he's at, or even gains some spots, he should be inside the championship for with the way he came in after Talladega. There's lap car Timmy Spatz, who at this point sits 4 laps down in 20th. It looks like his chance for a WORC Dynamo Designs National Series title might be completely dashed, and the same will go for the 98 lap down car of Sky McGurk in the 82. The rookie will have to call it quits on his championship pursuit. And also, as of note, the number 71 of Gino Mero not in attendance in this race. He was dead last in the cut line going into tonight, and he's also going to be out of the fight for the playoffs. Drivers on pit road. We saw John Cannizzaro come in first, Jay Mulder coming in second, and that moves Josh Patterson to the lead. There's a look at Cannizzaro in his stall. Now going to lift the jacks on the left side of the Ford Mustang, and should be it. Revs up the car. He'll try and merge out of the second pit box on the racetrack. And we'll see when John Cannizzaro and company comes in. Remember, Ramstead in all of this, 29 laps on his tires. Same deal with Garrett White and Hayes Booth. With them pitting on the most recent caution, it may change their strategy, might get them to the end, but it could be a huge gamble with the amount of tires that these guys have left and the ones that do have to pit now. And so this leaves Patterson in control of the race lead. Car down pit road, that is Connor Havrilla, the 29. Cannizzaro tries to fight his way back up to the field. He's up to 13th now, a lap down. And we'll just eye on whether that 02 comes in. And how long will it take? There's Hunter Collier in. Jay Mulder still in his pit box this time by. It has been a remarkably long pit stop for Mulder. It might have been a penalty for the 51 as he falls 3 laps down. So a huge development for Mulder, who might have just dashed his opportunity at winning this race, as Patterson stays out 57 laps into his stint. And we just watched as Clayne Ramstead tries to close in on what's a 2.1 second gap as of the moment. Now here comes Patterson in for service. He hops on the brakes. He dives to the left. Entrance of pit road. Patterson is in. And so that will hand the lead to Clayne Ramstead. Garrett White will follow suit in second. Hayes Booth has now followed the third. Ryan Martin, who is 33 laps on his stint. Everybody who had pitted on the last yellow, all staying out this time by, as Patterson continues to drop spots. There he is, lifting the jacks on what appears to be the right side of his Toyota Supra. Now getting the last set of tires on the left side. He'll dash out of the pit lane. He'll take that trip around. We'll see where he joins back. He seems to be 1 lap down inside the top 10. Cannizzaro is going to make that pass complete, though, at the exit of turn 2, as Patterson comes back up the racetrack. And so now it's all up to Patterson. 1 lap down. But with 40 laps to go, It is going to get awfully close, and we saw these guys go around 55, maybe 60 laps at its max. These drivers now pushing 35 inside 40, I believe now 36, or 37, rather, laps to go. Or 47 laps, rather. This is not going to be 38 laps to go this time by, so I'm going to correct myself on that front. But with the amount of laps that are left, you have to imagine these drivers might either be saving or just might not have enough tire to the point where they have to come down pit road anyway, and it may just hand the lead back to Cannizzaro, give him the win that he is looking for, what will be his second straight, and what would put him up pretty high with tie-in with Dimitri Munoz, Josh Patterson on the all-time wins list. As there's Patterson not too far behind, 2.5 seconds behind Cannizzaro. And so this is the waiting game, but this is big for Clayton Ramstead, who again, even in P3 with the situation he was put in, is probably going to advance to the championship race, but obviously a win, all the momentum to you, and that can give you a huge boost of confidence. Going into the last race, we saw what that did in Season 1 for Garrett White, who won Charlotte, locked himself in the championship round. And when that took that confidence to Homestead, and despite not being able to take the championship, still, you can imagine how much a win would do for you. And Ramstead, most importantly, will be looking for his first career WORC win and will make it the second driver in a row in the last 2 races to get their first ever WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win. So a lot riding on the line for the 21. He pulls away a 0.6 of a second back to Garrett White, who's just trying to hold off Hayes Booth as much as possible. And a little bit of memories from Phoenix earlier this season where Hayes Booth had a chance to win. Garrett White in contention as well, and they both made contact. Hayes Booth went around, caution came out. Booth's contention for that win out of the way. And so nice to see these drivers now second and third of the racetrack. White almost loses the car entering the corner. Caution flag is out, though. That will be huge. For the drivers staying out, they'll have fresh tires. It looks like Ryan came in trouble. The Allegiant machine, who has been bruised all night long, goes around and I think just got loose on his own accord. Yes, he did. Got sideways, hit the inside wall, went around, parked it on the front straightaway. There's your leader, or former leader, Josh Patterson going around. Ezekiel Reyes having to duck out of the way with Dimitri Munoz, Logan Suyi following suit. Kame goes around, caution is out, and now the call between your leaders is to pit. Ramstead in, White in, Booth in, Reyes, Suyi, everybody in. Or rather, it looks like Ezekiel Reyes and Suyi are going to split, so Reyes is going to stay out on some strategy. Looks like he might take the lead, but for these guys, all of them coming in, and Cannizzaro is going to gain some pivotal track position here with only 15 laps on his tires, as Ezekiel Reyes will make this call. He will stay out, and he will try to command this race to the very end. Remember how close he was at Bristol a couple of races ago, but it looks like Reyes might actually just come to pit road after all, so never mind. Second guess out of the 62. Who will it shift the lead to? Not Connor Trafari, because he'll come in as well. It looks like it might just be John Cannizzaro after all. So now he's behind the iRacing official pace truck, and with this caution, it puts your top 3 as Cannizzaro, Patterson, and Connor Havrilla. So a big caution inside. 30 laps to go. And right now it is still showing Ramstead as your race leader. So I'm not sure whether these drivers were still a lap down or so. We'll try and officially confirm that for you. But if this is the case, then this is the money call for Clayton Ramstead here. Going to look for his first win. Hayes Booth having a shot to win. He's back in second. Got the best of Garrett White off of the pit stop at around 14.2 seconds, but still shorter pit length overall to 44.6. Remember, he's got the first pit stall. And so we'll try and confirm officially the running order for you as it stands. Cannizzaro, though, is going to be 8th. Josh Patterson's going to be 9th. But they're right behind the iRacing official pace truck. And for Clayton Ramstead, he is still scored as the leader. So I believe this caution did not really help Cannizzaro and Patterson all too much. They are going to get the wave around, but they're still going to have traffic to work through in the final, what's going to be less than 30 laps in this Paperclip 150. It is going to be huge for these drivers at this stage of the race. And for Ramstead, you have to imagine a lot of anxiety and the heart probably pumping. So we'll try and sort this out. Inside 30 laps to go. There's all the drivers getting their wave around. And it looks like that will be the case for Cannizzaro and Patterson. So while they will restart this race inside the top 10, they're going to have less than 30 laps to make something happen up at the front. And they are not going to have fresh tire cars, which is going to make things worse at this stage of the race. 18 laps put in for Cannizzaro. It's going to be 13 for Patterson. Everybody else on 3. So pace truck is down. We're going to get the green flag at lap number 123 of 150 in this Paperclip 150. We'll see if we can get this race under green. Late jump by Ramstead, and we're back underway. And White, make no mistake, slides in his second. Joe Berge, who has been behind the 8 ball all race long, now enters the top 5 once more. Caution flag out again. We'll see if this is an issue with Ryan Kame, or if there was anything else in front of him that happened. You see some of the contact. That's Dimitri Mundros and Timmy Spatz going side by side. Jay Mulder on the back straightaway. Oh, and there's Dimitri Mundros getting sent around. And there's Kame getting it out of it all. We'll try and get another look at it. This happened on the back straightaway. You see the entire scuffle. John Cannizzaro forcing his way. Dimitri Mundros powering through the middle. And it is just absolute chaos at this stage. Contact there with Havrilla, then slams into Hunter Collier. Caden Rife. So unfortunate for the 97. Gets caught up at the worst place, the worst time. And it looks like he's going to drop all the way back to 12th on the racetrack, and he's going to visit pit road. Patterson also in for tires. So that's going to be big. He'll drop to 12th on the track. And boy, has this race taken a different shape as we get into the final 25 laps here from Martinsville and Ridgeway, Virginia. We'll take another break side by side, but you won't miss a thing. We'll continue our coverage of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series playoffs right here on the KBueno Racing Network.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Clayton Ramstead in the lead as the lights flicker off for the iRacing official pace truck, ready for a restart at lap number 129 of 150. Welcome back to our coverage of the Paperclip 150 here from Martinsville. Kenneth Bueno to join you on the broadcast booth. We're getting into the final leg of this race. Final one of the round of 9. After this race, we would decide the 4 that make it to the championship race at Homestead, Miami next week. Clayton Ramstead looking for his first WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win. He's got Garrett White, the experienced winner, on the outside. Hayes Booth and Joe Berge inside, outside in row number 2. Pace truck is down. Final 22 laps from Martinsville. Ramstead goes late, catches the 26 off guard, and we're back underway. 3 wide for second into turn 1. It lasted for a brief second. Berge backed out. Now he'll look for the crossover on White for P3. And remember, there's a fresh tire car near the back. That's Josh Patterson in 8th. He'll try and work his way to the front of the field. Meanwhile, Hayes Booth finds a nose underneath Ramstead. He looks for the lead. Quick work by the number 03. Booth in control of the race. Ramstead and White try to follow second and third. Berge gets booted out of the way. Logan Suyi and Ezekiel Reyes fighting hard for 4th. And that's going to hurt Berge's chances at making it to the next round. Patterson finds his way inside the top 5. And this is big for Patterson and Cannizzaro, who up until this point have been some of the fastest cars all race long, but they're going to have to get around the car who has been the second fastest up until this point. Hayes Booth in the 03, who had been put so far back to the field, had a struggle to get through back to the top 10, and now in contention in clean air with 18 laps to go, as Cannizzaro works underneath Logan Suyi for P6, and Patterson on the freshest tires of the field, now going to work on Ezekiel Reyes on board with the 02. Plain Ramstead falls back 6/10 of a second. Regardless of the situation, it looks like he might still, though, advance to Homestead Miami with a shot at the title. Garrett White in this only for reassurance, sitting in P3, while Ezekiel Reyes, the only non-playoff car inside the top 5, not named Hayes Booth, is going to try and defend his best against the 02 of Josh Patterson, who's got the fresh tires in tow. He'll look to the outside, can't quite make the pass. He'll look for the crossover out of turn 4. And as Reyes tugs up against the outside wall, Patterson only continues to put this pressure. But the question is, how much time does Patterson have? It looks like Cannizzaro has fallen too far back to make a move happen unless another caution comes out. Now here comes Patterson to look on the inside of Reyes for 4th. And now caution out again. Car sideways as Frederick Seagraves, Caden Wright, but I think the main victim might be Jay Mulder in the 51. Watch and see how it all started in a battle with Brayson Collins. Turns 1 and 2, I think just either might have overshot the corner or they both made contact at some point. Right about almost there. Mulder gets a tap, then a second one by Collins goes around as Collins just sends him through. And then as he goes around, look at Seagraves and Caden Rife going sideways, and beautiful job for both of them to lock it up without making more contact. But Mulder goes sideways, goes for a quick 360, and we are back under the yellow flag inside 13 laps to go. This should, of course, get Dimitri Mudros to wave around. He's going to be back on the lead lap for the first time in a very long time this evening. And he can only pray for what happens in front of him for the next handful of laps if he wants a chance at making it to South Florida. But what this only does is offer Josh Patterson and John Cannizzaro a chance to get closer to the drivers up front and have a chance at winning this race, which is ultimately big for Patterson. Of course, 7 points beneath the cut line. Cannizzaro looking for his second win in a row, although he has dropped to 10th. I think he did come down pit road. Indeed, he did. So make it 8th on back, starting with Frederick Seagraves to come in for fresh tires. And for Cannizzaro, I'm not sure whether the case for the win might be still in mind, or whether he's just going to have to wait until Homestead 1 week from this evening. But we'll see what happens. Hayes Booth in control. And look at the ramifications of a win by either of these drivers. Hayes Booth, if he wins, gets his first career WORC Series win. For the 21 of Ramstead, he's in the same boat. And obviously we give him a heap of confidence and momentum heading into Homestead for a Championship 4 bid. Garrett White is all pretty much butt locked in. He's the top of the leaderboard in the standings. And if he stays where he's at, he's pretty much guaranteed into what's going to be his second straight Championship 4 appearance. But if he wins this race, going to be in the same route as last season where he won the penultimate race of the season, had a chance at the championship at Homestead, and what would get him his 10th career WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win. He'd be the first driver in double-digit territory for wins in this series, just cementing himself as an all-time great over the first 2 seasons that we've had. Ezekiel Reyes, remember, he was behind Garrett White at the end of the Bristol race, fell short in P2. He's got a shot at his first career win in this series. Josh Patterson looking for what will be career win number 3, but maybe the most important to get him into the championship 4 once more. Joe Berge also looking for his first career win. And then everybody else looking to rip it away from all the drivers at the front. Hayes Booth, Clayton Ramstead, first and second. Garrett White, Ezekiel Reyes, third and fourth. Josh Patterson inside your top 5. Pace truck is down. Restart with 10 laps to go in the Paperclip 150. The 03 gonna get the handoff off the final corner. He'll hop on the gas pedal. We're back under green with 10 laps remaining. And a big stack up for second. White tries to stuff it in on Ezekiel Reyes. They'll go side by side for third. And Josh Patterson will try and find something that he can work with inside the top 5. As Canizaro, remember, he took fresh tires. He's going to try and power on the top side against Joe Berge. Not going to work against Patterson. They're still side by side. Ramstead gets turned in turn 1. Up into the outside wall. Reyes is involved. Caution is out. Unbelievable. The tensions only continue to rise as Ramstead sees his spot in second get completely torn out of his hands. You see him get loose out of 4 and grabs the rumble strip on the bottom, and that's a big thing that can slow you down here at Martinsville. Reyes breaks late, gets into the back end of Ramstead, and Ramstead goes spinning. Here's a look on board with Ramstead at the exit of turn 4. See, right there, loses the ground, grabs the rumble strip on the bottom, and Reyes, who tries to look on the outside, right there, makes the slight contact. Around he goes into the inside wall. And with that, it puts Ramstead back to 13th. And may that be enough to bump him out of a championship 4 spot? Who knows? But it ultimately is going to get a lot tougher for Ramstead, as we will stack them up, and Hayes Booth once more will stay in this race up at the front. Garrett White going to fill second. Josh Patterson in the third. There's Jay Mulder, Connor Trafari getting some wave around service. And so Patterson putting himself in the best position possible to enter the championship 4 if he's not going to win this race. We talk about the pressure of these types of rounds where you've got 3 races in this case, and even though you do have a shot to have a bad race, to have an off week and still come back the next week, still be strong, any race in the round can completely unravel your plans and can throw them into the trash bin. And Patterson, who had been pretty much inside the championship 4 by Talladega, that was completely given away to everybody else as he didn't have the greatest race himself. Then falls beneath the cut line. And now with a chance to redeem himself with his back against the wall. Ezekiel Reyes coming in for service on pit road. Of course, a heavily damaged number 62 Camaro, so there he is. And just a tough break for Reyes, who was having a top 5 run up until that contact with Ramstead. And Ramstead this time, I think, will shuffle to 11th as the 62 comes in. But ultimately, this will all put us into a restart. With less than 5 laps to go, we may even end up in green-white checker territory. Might have to extend the scheduled distance of this race by a couple of laps. But so far, it looks like we will have an organic restart to the finish, possibly with 3 laps to go if we do get the lights off on the pace truck this time through. We'll see what happens when they cross the stripe. It looks like for the truck, lights are on. Rather off. Flickers off at the last second. So, gonna be at a restart with 3 laps to go. A typical what would be a green-white checkered finish. If we do get another caution, we'll explain the rules of overtime to you to try and end this race under green. But it is Hayes Booth, Garrett White now occupying row number 1. Josh Patterson, John Canizaro. Remember, they are on fresher tires. Especially Canizaro. He's got way fresher tires than anyone else in this field. Joe Berge inside the top 5. Hunter Collier looking to end the penultimate race with a top 10. Final handful of miles from Martinsville in this Paperclip 150. Early jump by Hayes Booth. That's an open door for Patterson to take second. 3 laps to go. Patterson finds a way through. Canizaro not yet in his attack, as Booth clears ahead by a couple of car lengths. Patterson clears for second. Canizaro looking for third as Booth catches 2 laps to go. Caution is out. It's Frederick Seagraves. And that will put us in overtime for the first time this evening. Here's what happened. Contact with Brayson Collins sends him around. Collins drifts up the track. Seagraves comes down quite a bit. We'll see it once more here in this contact side by side. Easily enough to get that car unsettled. And for Seagraves, another incident for him. So watch it. 93 goes wide. Loses a couple of spots. And as Collins gets pushed into the corner slightly, he gets into the 93 of Seagraves, and nothing that Seagraves can do. And that will put us into overtime for the first time at Martinsville. And what this does is only allows Patterson to be able to take a win of his own and have a heap of confidence heading into Homestead, Miami. I'll explain how this works for you. These overtime finishes, we do have 3 attempts to finish this race under green. We'll get to the green with 2 laps to go with the entire field double file. If the leader does take the white flag, then the next flag ends the race, and it is going to be the checker. No yellow is going to be thrown after that white flag is displayed, and then we'll race all the way back to the line. However, if a caution does come out before the leaders get to the white under green, then we will stack them up and do it again. Once more, we have 3 attempts to finish this race under green. If we do not finish this race under green and the yellow comes out before the white flag on the final attempt, whoever scored the leader at the time of caution will be decided as the winner in the Paperclip 150. Last time it happened, it was Garrett White in the 26 taking victory at Myrtle Beach after the 3 attempts were exhausted due to cautions. Hayes Booth hoping that's not the case, and with the fact that he pulled away on that last restart, he's hoping that this one is the last, because it's only going to put more pressure on you to perform. And while yes, if you're the race leader, you can be able to catch the whole field off guard. You have the opportunity to go as early as you want once that pace truck comes in, and you can clear the entire field of the first corner. The only problem is you make a mistake, you let Josh Patterson get to you, you let Garrett White push you into the corner, it could be disastrous, and you have to make sure that you handle these restarts. Or if you do get multiple restarts on end, that is going to mentally drain you at some point. And then that mental acuity for restart after restart is going to start to wear down, and you're going to have more mistakes show up. So Booth only hoping that this is the first and only attempt at a green-white checkered. As the lights are off on the iRacing official pace truck, we'll go green with 2 laps to go. We'll extend this race by a couple of laps, and it will be the 03 with the pressure on to get his first checkered flag in his WORC Series career. Patterson looking for his 3rd, White looking for his 10th, Canizaro looking for 2 in a row. Let's see if it's the final one we have from Martinsville. Booth on the gas pedal, green flag back in the air. And it's a good start by Patterson, but an even better one by Canizaro, using the fresh tires to an advantage. He'll try and work on the outside of Patterson. Booth, though, able to pull away as they go for the white flag. Patterson with one last lap to get to the 03 of Hayes Booth. The winds have eluded him for so long, and Booth can see now the half lap left. Patterson, one more opportunity as the 03 dives in at 3 and 4. Patterson shovels it in, but the 03 of Hayes Booth is victorious. First career WORC Dynamo Designs win comes at Martinsville. How many times have we seen this 03 over the front with a chance to win, and then it all goes south? It appeared the same way earlier tonight where he got dropped through the top 10. It looked like he might have not had a chance to win this race, but he finds his way back to the front, and Hayes Booth celebrates on the Martinsville front straightaway, winner for the first time. There's Ryan Kane. Give him some revs, give him some congratulations. And the 03 of Hayes Booth breaks free of all the moments that have been ripped away from him. Possible chances at checkered flags. Now one finally in his hand as he continues to burn it down here in virtual Virginia. Let's take a look at your full field results rather from the Paperclip 150 at Martinsville. Hayes Booth, your winner by 0.2 of a second, pulled away from Josh Patterson and company at the end of the race. Josh Patterson, this finish just might be good enough to get him into the championship 4. We'll get official confirmation from league owner Brayson Collins and the admin team. John Cannizzaro would have been the most dominant car all night long. Unfortunately, did not have enough time to utilize his fresh tire power. He, though, finishes inside your top 3. Garrett White finishes 4th in a consistent run from green to checkered, and it looks like White, as the points leader coming into this race, might just have that championship spot locked in for him waiting at Homestead Miami Speedway. Joe Berge had been up and down throughout the race, got caught up in a crash in the opening laps of the event, but somehow manages a top 5. We'll see if that's good enough to get him into the championship. Caden Rife rebounds from earlier trouble to finish P6. Dimitri Mundros, remember, he was 2 laps down in this race. It looked like his chance for a title might have been completely dashed. It looks like maybe he's got a shot after all. He finishes 7th. Clayton Ramstead, also quick car, then got tussled around near the end as he ends up inside the top 8. Connor Hervillo will be in 9th, and Logan Suyi will wrap up the top 10. Jay Mulder is in P11 at the end of this race. Ezekiel Reyes will follow suit in 12th. Frederick Seagraves is 13th. Hunter Collier, 14th. Final driver in the top 15 is league owner Brayson Collins, who we're still awaiting word from. 16th will go to Ryan Martin. Timmy Spatz in 17th, 4 laps down. It looks like for Spatz, it looks like that championship bid might just be gone in the reach of the 54. Ryan Kane in the 23 machine is 18th. 5 laps down, you'll find Steven Shipman in 19th. Zach Horner to round out your top 20. And then come the final drivers in this field. Cameron McCone in 21st. Brady Cox in 22nd. Sky McGurk 151 laps down in 23rd. Obviously, his chances for a championship are done. The rookie driver going to have to wait till next season. Connor Trafari in 24th. James Bomar 25th. Julian Valadez in 26th. And 27th to Henry Clappert. We had 24 cars start this race. It looks like only 3 cars did not make the green flag in Bomar, Valadez, and Clappert. We'll try and settle the points, but for now, we'll take a short break. On the other side, post-race coverage here for the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, the Paperclip 150. You'll find more on the KBueno Racing Network coming up next.
Who wins the race? Kerwin! It is Demi Olat, the sophomore!
The header, you catch me is something you'll never do. I turn around and I love you. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible. This how it feels at the top. Got no incentive to stop. And the chance is right. And the beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use the technique that it gives me energy. All the work and I'm on it, yeah. All of the doing is about it, yeah. Performing the beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use the technique that it got me, yeah. I give it all that I got.
Wanted the best, you got him for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
155 laps complete. This race is over. The Paperclip 150 from the virtual Martinsville Speedway, the final race of the round of 9 in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series playoffs. Welcome back to our coverage, our post-race coverage, in fact, on the KBueno Racing Network, and it'll be our time to talk with the driver who ends up victorious out of it all. The number 03 of Hayes Booth is here, and here once and for all. Hayes, first of all, congratulations on the win, but just give us your perspective. I understand that this race this race win really has been on your mind for a while after being so close so many times. What are your emotions right now?
Oh man, feels good to finally get one. I forfeited my playoff spot, so I haven't really raced much, or actually, I don't think I've made a race since Charlotte. But tonight, I just kind of, I don't know, I've had it kind of on my mind throughout the day to maybe race tonight, and I was like, you know what, why not? Martinsville's a track that I've been good at in the past, or decent at, I should say. So I was like, yeah, why not? Maybe it would be fun. And I knew I had good pace in practice, and then starting on pole, was a good way to start. And then I spun the tires and lost the lead right on the get go, and just really, I mean, John. First of all, I feel bad for John, man. He deserved to win that race 100%, and he was arguably the fastest guy tonight. Especially on that long second run, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I started to kind of mess up and just couldn't quite figure out my braking points and everything. But yeah, John was really fast. Josh was really fast. Garrett, there were a lot of really fast guys tonight. And we were able to stay out longer on that set of green flag pit stops. And, I knew if we got a caution, we were going to be in a good spot because track position is just so key. And that caution came out, and I knew once I got the lead with 20 to go, I was like, okay, if we can just hang on, make the right moves or hit the right points in braking, we can have a shot at this. And when that last caution came out, and I knew Josh and John were behind me, and I knew they were, hungry for it, I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. But yeah, to come back and pull off the win, get our first win in WORC feels awesome after coming close that few times.
And you talked about your journey through the field a little bit, where you had at one point been bumped inside the top 10 for a while, and it looked like you were kind of staying there for the moment until you found your place back up at the front. Did any of those concerns about making your way to the front as the race was winding down come into play, or did you just have it in mind what kind of strategy you were going to implement and exactly how you were going to find your way back to the front?
Yeah, it definitely did get a little bit frustrating at times when I was around like 8th, 9th, somewhere around there. Because, like I said earlier, track position being so important and how tough it is to pass here, I knew we weren't in a great spot. And I really it really came down to that caution during green flag stops that really benefited us because we were able to just hang on to it. So it definitely did get a little bit frustrating, and I thought, it was going to take a lot to get back up there, but it happened.
So first career WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win. You joined Canizaro as the two drivers in the last two races to have done just that. Now, final race next week at Homestead of Miami. What are your thoughts about your chances to win?
Well, I actually don't think I'll be able to make that race because Road to Pro is running next week. But good luck to all the guys that are in. I'm not sure who the official 4 are that are running in, but all these guys have put in a lot of good runs throughout the season, so I'm happy for them making it. They've been some tough competitors this season for sure. So congrats to the 4 guys that are racing, and good luck to them.
You know what? Why not finish the series in your season on your terms at top? I like that. I like that a lot. But obviously, I know Road to Pro is going to be big for you next week, so obviously we wish you the best of luck as the series moves forward through 2023. But before we let you go and to continue your celebrations on the win here from Martinsville, anybody in particular you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I just want to first off thank Brayson and all the admins at WORC for putting this lead together. Really been good for competition. Want to thank you and everybody at KBRN for putting on these awesome broadcasts. Everybody at iRacing for making all of this possible. My parents and my grandmother, my friends, my whole family for supporting me through my journey in sim racing, and most of all, just my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, man. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for him.
We certainly appreciate the time, Hayes. I know Lori Booth in our chat is probably going crazy right now that you're in victory lane here from Martinsville. But on behalf of our broadcast team, we appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Again, huge congrats on the win, and hopefully we'll see you soon, and maybe in the next season of this series.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So that's Hayes Booth finally breaking free. He wins tonight in this Paperclip 150 from the Martinsville Speedway. We'll see if we can dial up the driver who finishes second. But before we do that, we are officially going to count down and list off the drivers who make it into the Championship 4 after tonight's festivities here at the Paperclip. It stands as follows. Garrett White, who was the points leader coming into tonight's race, he stays exactly there. He joins his second consecutive Championship 4 appearance, this time going to look to finally get a championship of his own. Dimitri Mundros, who had fallen back 2 laps down in this race, somehow made a miraculous comeback to finish 7th. That is more than enough to keep him over the cut line. He's entering the Championship 4 for the first time in his WORC Series career. Clayton Ramstead in the 21. Remember the troubles that he faced after being turned in turn 1 by Ezekiel Reyes. He finishes 8th, 1 spot behind Mundros. That obviously keeps him above the cut line. The only change from the Championship 4 coming out of Martinsville is that 4th place spot. Remember, Sky McGurk was in it before the green flag. He's out of it after the checkered. The driver who joins the other 3 for a championship appearance, it's that 0-2 of Josh Patterson, who's going to be in his second consecutive Championship 4 and going to look to go back-to-back in titles. We're now joined by the driver who finishes second and newly minted Championship 4 driver, Josh Patterson. Josh, first of all, I know that was a clear run to the finish. You, John Canizaro, Garrett White, Hayes Booth, the entire group now fighting for the win in the last couple of laps. Did you feel you had anything there for Hayes Booth, or did you feel there was still something missing?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I was really just looking at points. I'm just so happy I made the final, man. I was just trying to protect myself at the bottom at the end there. I feel like I could have shoved it to his outside on the first lap on the restart, but I ended up just trying to pull down and hold my spot. It worked out, so can't complain about that. Can't complain about a second place, and we're going to Homestead. Can't be more happier.
We're going to talk about that. I know that's definitely on your mind. A lot of excitement with that right now. But you talked about then points racing and just trying to protect yourself. Did that seem to just be the mindset all race long? I know you were 7 points beneath the cut line going into this race. Or at first, was it just a method of trying to be as aggressive as possible to get to the front?
Well, I messed up my qualifying laps, and I started much worse than I had hoped down in 13th. So I kind of just tried to save my stuff, and it worked out because I ended up, the car ended up coming alive on the long runs there. We got a couple really nice long runs, which I was happy about. I ended up getting up to, I think it was 3rd. And then I kind of just played the race conservatively. There was a couple cautions that really didn't help me, but it ended up, shuffling me back up in the end. So worked out all in my favor, and just lucky that no one else was able to capitalize. And I think Timmy and Sky getting into each other at the beginning there was really crucial. I don't really know what happened there. I'll have to go back and look at the replay, but yeah, that definitely helped me.
So now you enter a Championship 4 appearance once more, and out of the 4 drivers, you're the only one defending a title, and that's going to be huge for you. So how do you stack up against the competition at Homestead of Miami, and what are you exactly going to try to do to make sure you go 2 in a row with the titles?
Well, I think last year I definitely struggled at long run pace. I was definitely the most dominant on short run, so I'll have to put in some laps over the next week and figure out that, see if I can just figure out how to preserve the tires more like I did tonight. So mainly that. I think I want to say it's a dogfight between me, Garrett, and Dimitri. I'm not too sure how good Clayton will be on pace, but I could be wrong. He could go up there and dominate. So, never count anybody out. I think it'll be a good race between all 4 of us, but we'll just have to see in 1 week's time.
Looks to be one of the most competitive Championship 4s in recent memory. Josh, before we let you go, on this second place finish from Martinsville Speedway, anybody you want to thank in particular for this run and for this season overall?
Yeah, I just got to thank everybody at Dynamo Racing, powered by Limeade Media, Dynamo Designs, Limeade Media, Patriot Clutches, Vulture Racing Engines, Belfort Property Restorations, the Keystone Corner, EVC Automotive, the Penny Midget Club, which I'm going to be racing in this year, coming on board tonight, I got to thank everyone for coming out on track this season. All the playoff drivers for putting in their efforts and getting through. Now the 4 of us going on to Homestead. I got to thank you for broadcasting all year for us. It's been a pleasure having you up in the booth. Got to thank Brayson and all the admins for running the league. And yeah, everyone coming out tonight and giving us a great race.
I certainly appreciate it, Josh. On behalf of our team at the KBueno Racing Network, congratulations on second. Congratulations on making the Championship 4 2 seasons in a row. We'll see if you can defend your title 1 week at Homestead, Miami. Best of luck.
Thanks, Kenneth. Let's get it done.
That's Josh Patterson, the only driver other than Garrett White to go into 2 straight Championship 4 appearances. We're not going to be joined by a non-playoff driver, but one that does come in third. That is the 018 of John Canizaro here at Martinsville Speedway. And John, I know that you had spent a majority of this race up front, but just give us your perspective of what it was like to drive the car in the final handful of laps.
I'm going to keep this as tuned as I can. I am a little bit upset right now. I kind of got that one robbed from me from cautions, but those last couple laps were kind of crazy. I decided that I was going to take the risk and pit with a handful of laps left, and I just kind of threw my balls over my shoulder and sent it around the outside, and it somehow worked. I just didn't get enough laps to get those tires down, and Josh is going for a championship. There was no reason to try to move him for second, so I'll take a third place. It's better than what it could have been.
And of course, you had so much speed here at this Martinsville Speedway. It looked like you and Hayes Booth at one point in this race clearing away better than anybody else in the field. What behind this pace? Was it just extra practice, or what kind of things did you dial up going into this race to make you so fast?
Well, for one, the brake bias was cranked so far back, I'm pretty sure you could count it in the fuel tank. Just so much brake and so much boredom. Just when you're in clean air, there's nothing to do. You turn left, go down the straightaway, brake, turn left. Then if you're like me, you put too much brake bias in it, and you're spinning on corner entry. But I made a little bit of a deal with Hayes for the first half of the race. Just let me drive, you drive. We were both in different scenarios here. We can't really afford to wreck each other, so I got to drive away, and then unfortunately a bunch of back markers decided they wanted to wreck and cause some cautions, and that kind of cost me and Hayes both. And we both got to the front, but it should have been different.
Final race upcoming 1 week from tonight, Homestead Miami Speedway. Any thoughts, any expectations, or what are you going to try to do to get a victory there? Or what are just your overall thoughts about the race in South Florida?
Well, I've been to Homestead in real life. I think if Plan A fails of save my stuff and play a methodical race, then Plan B is rail the rim and just hope and pray the car sticks it.
I know it was a tough break for you here tonight, John, in this P3 effort from Martinsville Speedway. Before we let you go, though, on the finish, anybody you'd like to thank in particular for making this race happen?
Just in case I don't get to get the interview next week, you've put on the broadcast. You've done great all season. You're probably one of my favorite broadcasters at the moment, so thank you for coming on and broadcasting this stuff for us. Frederick Seagraves, Fearless Creations. I wasn't running his paint scheme today, but I was in the call with him. He was trying to get his first top 10. He's a good guy. I'm kind of unfortunate to see him get right like that at the end. Brayson, he puts on the league for us. Stay Tuned Sports, obviously, he's all over my cars. Jimbo's a good guy too, and all the other sponsors.
Well, first and foremost, of course, on behalf of the KBueno Racing Network and myself, we really appreciate those kind words. It's been an honor watching you on track throughout this entire WORC Dynamo Designs National Series season. On behalf of us as well, congratulations on the P3, and looking forward to seeing you at Homestead next week.
Thank you.
That's John Canizaro, the 018, the winner at Talladega 1 week ago. Not able to replicate the win for 2 in a row, but still a top 3 worthy of note for the Ford Mustang as everybody goes in to Homestead Miami Speedway. We have our Championship 4. Again, we'll list them off for you. Garrett White in the 26 is in. Second Championship 4 appearance. Then comes Dimitri Munoz. First Championship 4 appearance for the driver of the 60. Clayton Ramstead in his first as well in the number 21. That bright yellow car will have the orange banners for 1 more week. And then your defending series champion, John Canizaro, looking for 2 in a row and looking to make history. So that does it for our broadcast of the Paperclip 150 from the virtual Martinsville Speedway for the final race of the round of 9 in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series playoffs. So for Brayson Collins and everyone at the World Online Racing Championship, for Charlie Beyer, Keelan Belsha, and Francisco Bacallao of the KBueno Racing Network, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Saying so long and good night from Martinsville. Congratulations to Hayes Booth on his first career WORC Series win. We'll see you next week to decide the championship at Homestead, Miami.